All right, y'all. Today we're looking at this boudoir photography business. We're going to see if it's local search or if its city search has BSS. Also see if it's hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google. Nice. So we're here in the GBC universe. We're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More on that, pinned video, pinned profile, pinned post, whatever. That's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So if we're bringing in people from the entire intent ladder, highest intent on the left to lowest intent on the right, boudoir photographer business is rising. And if we're not doing that, boudoir photographer business is falling. Pretty simple. Over on the left here, we talk about BSS. So the videos here, it's the highest intent peeps. People search for boudoir photo shoots on Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So highest intent search, closest to the money. We want to dominate that first. And over at the end, BLCS, that's our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where right now we only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. So that's some other profiles out there in the universe. So BSS is boudoir search sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. So if we got 0 slots on page 1, we're hurting, we're screwed. Because I mean, we're on page 2 or 3 or somewhere later. And we also know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page 2. They're page 1 only, they stay on page 1. So this is the bulk of people searching. The bulk of searchers, approximately 80% of all searches. So we actually want to cater this approximately 80% bulk. This is the bulk of the market. We don't care about the 20% that go to page 10. We don't care. Let's be the best in the universe at capturing these 80% that stay on page 1. So 0 slots, bad. 1 slot is bad because then, dude, we're looking the same as everyone else. We're, if we got 9 other competing boudoir photographers on our, on page 1, okay, they got 9, buyers are just clicking down, going down every, clicking every link open on, sending a message to every single person, getting a quote from everyone. And we're not standing out at all. They probably don't even reckon, they don't even remember our name. They're just clicking through all 10, us and 9 other competing boudoir photographers. So this is a diagnosis. It's the most common diagnosis actually I've seen with across all boudoir photography businesses. Also, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google is not normal. It's not normal to have that small number of slots on Google. This is actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. These 2 deeper root causes are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about, and the false belief of page 1 equality, which basically nobody knows about. So market saturation, obviously, more boudoir photographers entering the market seemingly every week. Every time anyone gets a new iPhone, they're sending out their Google My Business profile saying they now shoot boudoir, or they're, saying, they got their website, they're competing for page 1, maybe even giving on page 1, and kicking us off. Or they're getting a new camera, and now they're posting them on Facebook groups saying they also shoot boudoir. So more and more boudoir photographers are always entering the market. That's never going to change. And so that's market saturation. Everyone's used to that. COVID had a massive blast of that. People needed to earn income, couldn't work, and now actually needed to became boudoir photographers. So massive glut of boudoir photographers entered the market. The one that almost nobody knows about is the false belief of page 1 equality. So page 1 equality is basically assuming, everyone, everyone gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 of Google. More photographers come in, they might kick me off page 1. Now I got 1 slot on page 2, but that's how it is. It is what it is. It is how it is. And hopefully maybe I get back, someone leaves, someone shuts out their website, I go back to page 1, or maybe I go on to page 3 eventually. And it's just kind of something people accepted. But this is a false belief. And I know that because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in 10 days. So I know Google will give us as many slots on page 1 as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And so I feel like most people there's never been a word for this, the false belief, well, for page 1 equality. People just there's never been a word to describe it. So I feel like people haven't really thought about whether they believe in it yes or believe in it no. But people's actions have told me it seems like people just have accepted it, right? Because they never, I don't know, had explicitly a word to say, oh, do I believe in that or not? So, and also this false belief of page 1 equality has been the #1 killer of boudoir photography businesses that I have ever seen. People get relegated to page 2, they disappear. They're pretty quickly after their business disappears because referrals only last for so long, you can only spend so much ad money. CAC, customer acquisition cost, always goes up over time. It's the new people that have never heard about us yet that always sustain a business. We also know that a boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer. Because if we're from page 2, we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never hit in page 2. So we're disappearing, and pretty fast after that, our business will be disappearing as well from existence. And if we got 1 slot on page 1, well, that's the scariest number on page 1 because we are, 1 person could kick us off to page 2 if they take our slot. And also, we look the same as the other 9. If there's other 9 slots or 9 boudoir photographers, we look the same. Nothing special. They're clicking through all the links, contacting everyone, price shopping everyone. And so it's like 0 or 1, most likely disappearing. For 0 1, both local and city search. So we got our universe building up here. Disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the 2 horns of market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. But luckily, BSS, boudoir search sameness, is treated with social search saturation. It's our S-cubed methodology. It's our proprietary solution we've created. And been mastering it, building it over about the last 7 months. And ready to bring it to market. And with S-cubed methodology, we can actually take it as many page 1 Google slots as we actually want for whichever keywords we want. Instead of Google PPC, you get 1 extra text ad. Okay, who cares? Dude, we want to hit the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 organic slots and up, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this S-cubed methodology, it's social search saturation. So we saturate social search first. And then once we saturate social search, Google recognizes that and it flows to us saturating page 1 of Google search. So page 1 Google search is actually the byproduct of saturating social search. And this is actually the only thing I've seen that actually is able to successfully fight back against market saturation. So imagine we're in Topeka, Kansas, where 1 boudoir photographer it's 1 million total boudoir photographers competing in this city. Everyone's got their own website, everyone's ranking or trying to rank page 1 on Google. But we crank S-cubed methodology to the max. When we crank S-cubed methodology to the max, let's say we saturate social search, the first 300 slots for the highest intent keywords across all social platforms. And also, as a result, we capture the first 300 slots organic per Google. Well, there's 10 organic slots per page on Google, so that's literally the first 30 pages that we saturate. So when anyone that ever looks for a boudoir photographer in our city, anywhere they look, they search on social or they search on Google, we're basically the only one that they can find, even though there are literally 999,999 other boudoir photographers. And so whose business is growing? Ours, even though our market saturation has never been higher. And our business has never been growing faster because we captured so much, search intent or so many search slots. And so again, this is the only solution that I've seen that is able to successfully fight back against market saturation. Obviously, more market saturation, the more you got to crank the S-cubed methodology. But at least we finally got something. Finally got something that gives us some hope. Now, once our BSS is treated with S-cubed methodology, we have page 1 visibility. So we kind of escape market saturation and the page false belief of page one equality, and we achieve page one visibility. Now, a bonus of this is we're kicking competing boudoir photographers off page one, effectively making them invisible. So yeah, dude, every new slot we take on page one on Google, we're kicking a boudoir photographer out of there, relegating them to page two or deeper. And we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. That's literally 80%, the bulk of the market. It's never going to see them on Google. And same if we do, across all social search platforms. So this is a bonus of doing the using the S-cubed methodology, kind of reducing the amount of boudoir photographers we're being price shopped against, or buyers even know exist. Now, page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So we're no longer at 0 slots on page one or 1 slot on page one. Technically, we can do it with two slots on page one, but we won't get to the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 for local search and city search. Now, boudoir search visibility, if we can get to 3, that's kind of our big hump we want to get over, because we're definitely going to stand out more than all the other boudoir photographers that have 1 slot on page one on Google. And there'll be times when another boudoir photographer will have 2 slots on Google, page one on Google. But if we got 3, I mean, we're dwarfing everyone. So we finally achieved it activates boudoir search visibility for us. And a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer. So this is our universe. We got, disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the 2 horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. That's fine. We got a solution now. S-cubed methodology. And we achieve page one visibility. So we overcome market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. To achieve page one visibility, become visible boudoir photographers with boudoir search visibility. So I'm going to look at me using a S-cubed methodology here. I want to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. And come down to organic. Got Instagram slot 1, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So in 10 days, I went from 0 out of 10 slots page one on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page one on Google. And again, this is the only solution I've ever seen that can successfully outcompete market saturation. And it has its own, momentum to it. Where ads, if you stop spending to them, momentum instantly drops to 0. That's on Google and on Facebook. So moving on to our main event here, we're going to check this boudoir photography business, see if it's got BSS for local and city search, see if it's in its GBC recommended minimum, 3 out of 10 page one slots. So let's go. All right, I'm going to Virginia Beach. All right, that's fine. So let's check this out. Virginia Beach. Boom, we got 1. And boom, we got 2. Okay. All right, so we got 2 out of 10 for local. So we do not have BSS, but we did not hit the GBC recommend minimum of 3 out of 10 slots. Page one on Google. All right, now we're going to go to our city search, Norfolk, Virginia. All right, so let's check this out. So let's see. See if we got any here. Nope. All right, so we're at 0 out of 10. And yeah, city's always harder to rank for than local. So we're at 2 out of 10. Page one, Google for local. So we don't have BSS for local. We do have BSS for city. But for both of them, we did not hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google for either of them. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've done a local search for the highest intent keywords for buyers in your city, in your local area and your city, and you're seeing you've got boudoir search sameness, either 0 or 1 slots on page one. You're not hitting the GBC minimum on page 2. And you understand, you kind of broken through the brain barrier that, yeah, page one equality, that's a false belief, and we can actually take as many page one slots as we want. And you've also seen market saturation. Yeah, more people getting more iPhones, new iPhones, get new cameras who come with boudoir photographers. But you also see AI going to be taking more and more people's jobs, leading into way more boudoir photographers coming into the market. And you say, oh man, got to prepare for this big supply side shock that's coming. And we can do that by, and you're saying, oh, S-cubed methodology, perfect. That's perfect for that. It allows us to saturate social search, which then allows, as a result, allows us to saturate page one Google search for the highest intent keywords. So basically anywhere any buyer searches, we are dominating kind of the attention space there. And so you're seeing S-cubed methodology. You want to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, achieve boudoir search visibility. You want to hit the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 on all of the, on all of the local search and city search. And so you're seeing S-cubed methodology is what you want to utilize. And you're also seeing kind of the extra bonuses on the back end. Kind of more thematic keyword columns that we create that we use S-cubed methodology around the highest intent keywords, then the higher the probability that we get ranked here for AI overview for local search and city search, kind of as the only featured prominent one, because this is pulling from, thematic keyword kind of repetition, authority, age. So higher chance of achieving that with S-cubed methodology kind of as a back-end bonus, and higher chance of showing up in AI search. I actually have an AI search on the back-end ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, Claude, Perplexity. Because I remember last time I checked for boudoir photographers in the city, dude, it only brought up 3. So if we get our kind of our thematic keyword columns created attached to our brand, then a higher chance we show up in Google, all these AI searches. And as a result, kind of some back-end bonus. Also, the more we do S-cubed methodology, kind of more momentum we build up against anyone else, any other boudoir photographers competing against us in our current city. So my plan right now is to only work with one boudoir photographer for a city. So we can build up all that distance, all that momentum, all these front end benefits, obviously, saturating social search and Google page one search, kicking other boudoir photographers off. Also the back end momentum, higher recommendations, AI overview, Google search, and AI, all the different AI searches in general. And as a result, you're saying, hey, probably should be a first mover on this because someone else is a first mover in our city, then, and since my plan is to work with only one person per city on this at a time, then if you weren't working with me, you have to rederive S-cubed methodology on your own, kind of our proprietary method. And then even when you don't know if you're doing it exactly right, or exactly as we've derived it, then you have to equal our execution to maintain the gap between your competitor and your competitor who I could be working with. And you'd actually have to double or triple our capacity to kind of make up all the momentum we would have already achieved. And so you're like, all right, it's better to simply, be first mover on this, get prepared for AI to force some more boudoir photographers into the market. And so you're like, all right, S-cubed methodology is what I need. I'm ready to go now. So if that's you, shoot me a DM when my DM's open. I'm currently not open for new patient intake, but I will let you know when I am. The hospital is not currently open for new patient intake, but when I do open the hospital, keep watching these videos. That'll tell you actually when the hospital's open. Shoot us a DM and we'll see if you qualify for S-cubed methodology.